Hello, everyone. We are here for the final session of the day, and we have a lovely fireside chat. For those who don't know me, I am on the HEDNA board. My name is Mike Carlo, and I run a company called XanderPay. With me today is one of my oldest friends in the world, and very excited to introduce Rob Torres, who is the Managing Director for Travel at Google. Thank you for joining us, Rob.
So professional.
I know. It's so atypical. So I will tell everyone that I have disappointed you because last weekend the organizers asked me to find a picture of Rob and myself from spring break in 1990, and I forgot. Oh, but
that's
trust
probably
me, it would have been worthwhile. But so. Despite all of that, I'm here to ask Rob some difficult questions, and if all goes well, make him cry a little.
No.
No, not at all. No, our goal is to sort of talk about what is the latest with Google, and obviously, if you have questions, please use the app to share them, and we will read them throughout. We're going to go with a pretty laid-back discussion. I think most people here have heard of Google. Not 100% sure.
Who hasn't heard of Google?
I prefer to call it as the Google because it just seems to be its own thing. I will not call it the Google machine.
No.
Thank you.
Please.
So, Rob, you've been here before. I think when you were here last, people really didn't know what to expect of Google, and there was always a question of when is Google going to become an OTA? And you've always said Google's never going to become an OTA. Is that still the case?
I can't believe, right? The first question right out of the bag. Well, that's good. Let's get to it. No, I mean, I think that the reality is we don't intend to become an OTA. I think people think of that because we've really grown in travel. I've been there now almost 14 years, I guess, and where we started and where we are now, we've come so far. But we've always been really about connecting users to information to help them make better decisions. And that's really what we continue to do. We think we can continue to drive better experiences, certainly in travel. Certainly we have a lot of intent signals, and if we can provide more great information for our users, that then actually provides more qualified leads or profitable leads to all of our partners in the space. And when I say partners, I mean all partners, not just OTAs who are great partners, but hotels direct, airlines, cars, cruise, and we're growing in a lot of different areas. But again, our goal is really to build for users and drive a better experience versus websites themselves. And so, like I said, I get that a lot, but I think when you really think about it, we do a great job we think we do a great job of, answering questions, and we want to continue to do that. And travel we get a lot of questions in travel. I mean, people think about, where do I go? What do I do when I'm there? But they also, we answer a lot of questions of do I need a visa to travel to XYZ? What is the currency in Ecuador? Mm-hmm. It's the dollar, the US dollar, but just so you know. So it's answering questions. And I think we've come a long way from where we provided 10 blue links to the answer. I think if we can stay there, we would really not be providing the user a great experience.
I think that's where the confusion is, because if you go to the Google travel page, it has all the look and feel and ease and perhaps even more information than an OTA. And so I think that's where this group feels sort of confused by that.
Well, I mean, I think we will continue to always, innovate and look at different variations of the page. And when I say the page, the search page, but really it's not the page, it's the results that people are looking for in the time that they're looking for that information. And so we're constantly looking at, tweaking and testing and iterating, not just content, but colors and schemes and sizes to see what actually converts better, gets the user really to the place they want to be quicker. And so it's not so much as we want to keep them spending more time on Google. We want them spending, to some extent, less time on Google and getting to the answer they want quicker, whether that be a link to an OTA, or that could be a video about travel, or that could be a review, or it could be ability to purchase something. And so that's really what it's all about. Whether you think it looks like an OTA page, I mean, I don't think it necessarily looks for an OTA page. We are aggregating, and you might be alluding to in April, some of you might have seen, we built this unified, we call it unified navigation, but it's really, we started connecting some of the products that we've built. Google Flight Search in hotels, along with Explore. I don't think people really necessarily knew we had all these products. They just landed on them through search. And so now through google.com/travel, you get to a page that I think you're alluding to looks more like an OTA page, but it's really just aggregating our products. And we're doing that in hopes to actually, make it easier and more effortless for consumers to find travel information.
So in preparing for this session, I asked one of my colleagues to book a trip using just Google as a device. And he's a millennial, and his response was, they really just need an app. And so I know you had an app, what was the name of it? Google Trips. I mean, what happened with that? What's the plan?
So, raise your hand if you knew what Google Trips app was.
There are a few up.
There might
Very
be
difficult to see.
7, 10 hands in the air. And so be the problem. It was, for those that did know about it, it was pretty cool, huh? It aggregated all of your trips automatically, auto-magically, I used to say, and had all this information, which was very, very cool. The problem was, and we've learned, and if you think about how you shop today, people are bouncing from websites to mobile to different formats all the time in the process. And so we really felt like we were doing a disservice because we weren't really updating that app as much as we were thinking about how do we improve the user experience overall on mobile and desktop. And so what we've done, and I'll share with you if you don't know, especially for those people that think that they've lost something, is we've incorporated the best of the features that were available in the Trips app into core Google search. So now if you just go on, I can do it now, go My Trips, do it, search, all of your trips will come up and all your itineraries will come up, and you can find all of that information. You can find the Explore information, you can find the what to do information, the maps information is all there. And we're gonna continue to improve on that. And you can now find all of that stuff as well by going to Google/travel. If you do that, any trips that you've started or finished or are in process of will show up first, so you can see exactly what you were looking at. So hopefully that will continue to be, I know we'll continue to develop that out and continue to improve on that. And then more people will actually be able to experience what a few of those in your millennial friend found as really valuable.
So as you said, start off with the difficult question about OTA, and now we're going to go to a far more difficult question. Apparently, a few months back at the Focusrite conference, there was an incident with Glenn Fogel checking in and being walked to a different room. And apparently, rumor has it that you were also checking in at the time and took a room there. Why didn't you just give him your room?
I tried. Yes, it did happen, and you're all in the hotel world, and it happened, you do occasionally have to walk people. No one likes that, but it was funny, because we did, we're digressing here, but we did show up about 10:30 at the hotel at the same time, and they had been walking people for a couple hours, but the part of it was funny was they said, we don't have any room for either one of you, and then like a few minutes later, somebody from the back goes, hey, I've got one room left. Kind of like, are we going to auction it off? And we're standing there going, oh, and then immediately she goes, it's for Mr. Torres. And I said, well, thank you. And then, and then immediately I said to him, I said, no, you can have it, Glenn. You take it. I'm happy to walk next door. And then, went on, and they did find him a room, and we both had a room. But it was kind of a funny story at the time. He wasn't very happy at the time, but.
There's video that proves that.
He did get a room, and it was funny because I was trying to whisper to the gal that I was checking me in, saying, "Hey, I know you have no idea, nor we would," but I said, this guy's a big deal. He probably puts more room nights in this hotel than anybody. You should find him a room. And she's just looking at me like, what? So I'm like, okay.
Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
A couple of questions from the app. First one is, what is your ultimate goal with easy booking on Google?
Well, I mean, I don't know what our ultimate goal is. I mean, I think what, you have to go back a little bit, on why do we have Book on Google. I mean, the reality was we really created Book on Google a few years back because, so many, especially in the travel space, it wasn't specifically built for travel, but in the travel space, we had so many partners that just had really poor performing mobile websites when it come to conversion. And myriad of reasons for that. Obviously, you've got, as hoteliers, you've got a lot more things to worry about than your mobile website, even though your Google partner is probably telling you that's the number one thing you should fix. But at the end of the day, you got a lot of things to worry about. And so we created Book on Google as a facilitation. We're not the merchant of record. The partner's the merchant of record, but we facilitate because we knew a good percentage of people that come through Google Search are signed in on Google, and we have all of their information. So if we could make it easier for them to convert, hopefully we would see a higher amount of leads, converting leads that we could send to our partners. And so that's really, and it has worked. So it's worked for hotels. It's really worked for some of our airline partners, and it's made it really simple to book air now on Google Flights. Encourage you to do that and look through it. It's just amazing. So where that goes, I mean, again, we don't necessarily care to become a merchant of record from that perspective. We really want to help facilitate bookings and make it easier. Again, I go back to what does Google do best? It does best by, creating a user experience that really makes it seamless and effortless to book whatever you want. And so we'll continue to look at different ways to do that over time. And we do think it's really important.
Well, why not move down a path of merchant of record? I mean, there's so many opportunities with foreign exchange and packaging, and it just seems that with everything else that you do, that seems to me as a logical extension.
I think it's really because it's not our, yes, you could say, and you're in the payments world, so I know, along with many of you here, why not? This would be something logical. And I think it may be logical, but it's not our sweet spot in that really our goal is to get people to where they want to go as soon as possible to that partner site and not have to deal with, it really comes down to having to deal with the merchant record. You could say that even through the merchant record, maybe you could pass on the customer service. But in travel, we're not good at the customer service end, and nor do we want to get into that. And I think that's really one of the reasons we'd be taking on more of that if we went deep there.
Now, on the displays, are you converting pricing to local currency, or?
In certain markets, oh yeah.
Okay.
And hotel ads does that, yeah, absolutely.
So another question from the audience, when are Google Vacation Rentals going live?
Vacation rentals are live. Hopefully you've seen, we launched our vacation rental, I don't want to say product, but I guess it's kind of a product, a few months ago maybe, I'm not quite sure. It's been a little bit, it's been live for a little while, and it's definitely a beta test right now that we're trying to figure out what is the best way to feature these type of properties. And I know all of you know that have vacation rentals and traditional hotels. It's been the same old problem we've had forever, is how do you differentiate? How do you explain to the customer and educate them on what they're getting and what is the right thing to book at this time? If you've got a family, if you don't have a family, that type of thing. So hopefully, we've got some really smart engineers on this that are working with our partners to figure out, is there a better way than what's out there today? Of course, we're working with many of the large partners for inventory today that you know of, but we're really trying to figure out what's the best way to display that. Right today, it's not a part of our hotel product, it's separate. And that's another question is people that love our hotel product is why can't we see the vacation rental offerings at the same time? Right now, it's not. But we're looking at different ways and tests. So I'd say stay tuned. But we do have vacation rental now.
Thanks.
It probably doesn't show up on all queries.
Well, there you go. Well, it'll get there. I think
but it will get
probably
there.
Figure that out.
It's definitely it's in infancy.
So one of the topics murmuring among this group is that Google recently, and maybe they didn't, but the rumor is that Google recently changed algorithms so that Booking and Expedia aren't necessarily near the top of the list. And then, in fact, a little bit of press coverage from this past week from earnings calls, and I'll quote this one. In an unintended duet, the CEOs of TripAdvisor and Expedia Group separately talked this week about how Google's increasing practice of directing search traffic towards its own travel businesses has adversely impacted their companies in the third quarter. So I think people in this room would really like to get your sense of that.
Well, we see what that did for the CEO of Expedia. I didn't say that. Scratch. Scratch that. No, I don't know of any major changes. Obviously, we test and iterate all the time, and we're constantly, again, I just go back to, our product we're building for the user versus the websites themselves, and we're literally constantly iterating and testing new features and in all the products of travel, and we work with partners, and hopefully we still we depend on partners, but our partners, like I said, just aren't OTAs. They are individual hoteliers in this room, and we want to make sure that our platform works for everyone. And so we will continue to build products and features that do support everyone. And again, we hope that the OTAs obviously still see great value in working with us. We still believe we drive a lot of qualified leads to them. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're driving qualified leads to direct hotel suppliers and to airlines and metas. We work with metas too. And even though we are a meta, to some extent, people think our hotel ads, it could be considered a meta. But we work with the large metas as well because I think they find value in the qualified leads that we can provide them. I'll just add, we're a very measurable platform. And so, if it's not working, we always encourage people to work with it till it does work. But if you feel like you're paying too much or you're not getting the traffic, the efficient traffic or the conversions you want, our teams work closely with the partners to make sure that it is working.
So no matter what you do, you're going to piss off somebody.
We hope not, but it's tough when you can't please everyone at the same time. Again, the focus is on the user and the experience and making sure that the traveler at the end is actually getting what they want from us. And so we'll continue to innovate in travel. I'm blessed that we're one of two verticals at Google that actually has its own engineering team outside of retail. Travel's the one that because we knew early on there's so many travel queries that it's an important category. And so we're constantly looking at and innovating in the space across the entire journey. And so for me, it's kind of fun to be at, but again, I do have that job of trying to make sure everyone's, happy with the performance that they're getting from us.
Thank you. I appreciate you answering that question. I'd like to move more into a bit of the guest experience or the traveler experience.
Okay.
So Google Maps is ubiquitous. It's part of every travel experience. Like every time I check into a hotel, the first thing I do is I check to see which Starbucks are within walking distance. So I love this hotel because I don't even have to leave the building. How do you see the growth of maps in the traveler experience?
Well, I can tell you, I always depend on maps too, but the first thing that I always check is where is there a Soul Cycle or an Orange Theory Fitness.
That's disgusting. Get off the stage.
But it's huge. It's huge. I think some people, when you asked that apps question earlier about the Google Trips app, I think some people think of it, and I think we sometimes think about our super app is really Google Maps, Google Mobile Maps. Sometimes we refer to it as GMM. And because of the importance it has become for everybody in this room and the world. And I think we believe that there's so much more opportunity in travel specifically to be utilizing the maps and the maps product in more ways than we even are today. It's come a long way. I mean, you can book hotels directly on the maps now. You can find restaurants. Cool thing is now through your calendar, if you've been to someplace before, if you've noticed, and you search it, it'll show up and it'll tell you that you've been there before. All this kind of stuff, and I think that's just the start. So to your question, it's critical that we get maps right. We're working closer and closer with them than ever before. And when I say we, the product and eng team are working very closely with the maps product and eng team to continue to drive features and functionality through maps. So it's going to continue to be more and more important.
So this really isn't relevant to this discussion, but I have a question.
Sure.
Why are Waze and Google Maps not one thing now?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I thought if I was betting long ago that there would have been one incorporated into the other by now for sure. So I'm not 100% sure why we still run the two organizations. And we really do. They're two different separate organizations within Google running and developing and increasing what they do. I don't know where that all ends. I mean, if I was betting, I would bet at some point in time they do become one, but it's not anything. That's just me sharing what I think. I do not know anything from inside to share, but they're both such great products in their own way, and I think of course, way more people use Google Maps than Waze. But I think once you do use Waze, you're forever kind of bought in.
It's very confusing to me.
So it's confusing to me too.
Okay, good. So let's talk a little about in-destination experiences, which is a natural outflow from Google Maps. And what do you see as Google's current role in that part of the travel experience, and where do you see it going in the next couple of years?
Well, I think that's the sweet spot. I think it's a sweet spot for a lot of people. I think learning about where you want to go, getting there, where you stay, how you travel around is just a small portion of the journey. That it's really all about the experiences that you have once you're in destination. And I know plenty of our partners think that as well, and they're trying to create and build up destination services. I think TripAdvisor, you just mentioned earlier now, I just read that they're kind of separating the Viator group again from the experiences group to really go deep. We think that there's a huge opportunity there, and part of the unique unified nav, and I shared a little bit, is the Explore functionality there. It's Google Explore. I encourage you to go look at that sometime, that tab, because that's really where we're building up a lot of our destination services and content. And so we are going to spend a lot more time on that and figuring out how we can include great content, video content, hopefully at some point links to purchase or that type of stuff. There's great day trip planning there, incorporating Google Maps. You can see distances, what is really feasible if you've only got a couple of hours. All of that stuff is kind of in a beta testing now, but it's under Explore, and I said you can get there google.com/travel, or if you just go Google Explore, you can find it. And so that's where a lot of our destination content will live for a while. But it's big. I mean, we have, it's one of the areas that we're focusing on, certainly in 2020 and beyond, because we do think that there's a huge untapped opportunity. As many of you know, it's such fragmented. We think, hotel business is somewhat fragmented. You get to the tour and attraction and destination services business, and it's completely fragmented. So trying to pull that together in an easy way is not easy. But
let's talk about some of the other properties. We've talked about Maps, and let's talk about some of the other Google properties. How do YouTube, Zagat, Translate all fit into the guest experience, and specifically with YouTube? Are hotels, from a content delivery standpoint, can you think of any hotels that are using YouTube well for getting their message?
The message? That's a good question, because you hit YouTube and video, and obviously we believe deeply in the power of video. YouTube as our platform. But overall, I mean, with the number of cord cutters, what do we see? I think the latest number we have is 41% of adults don't watch television. So when you think about that, where are they getting their great marketing messages with grand reach to build brands? And it is on, I'm feeling bad over here, there's a bunch of people over here that haven't been looked at, so hi over there.
We can't see anyone's face up here.
So I think that there is a power in video and getting a good brand message out there. And I don't think, so in travel overall, it's just starting to become a little bit more relevant and part of the conversation. I think it should be much more of the conversation because I think it is efficient. It's become efficient to get a message out there. There's a lot of different products out there depending on what you're trying to do, just build awareness, actually drive conversion, or drive action. And it is where the majority of the world now is going to get their content. And so we've been driving home a message to our travel community that this is something that they should be testing out. There are a few that have been doing it well. Hoteliers specifically, Best Western done some great stuff this year with us. They've worked with our Fame Bit, which is kind of our content curators, to create some brand messages that have really worked well for them. Caesars has done some good stuff with us. Disney has done some good stuff. And then, on the vacation rental side, Airbnb and Vrbo have really done some great stuff in building more of a brand message. For Airbnb, it was more of, how do we get more owners to join the platform, and kind of explaining and educating people on what it meant to be an owner or a house sharer on the platform. So I think overall, you should be thinking about that when you think about brand awareness, and I think there's a lot of different ways to dip your toes in. On some of those other ones you talked about, I think Translate's a really cool one. And when I say Translate, because of where we're going with voice search and with the assistants, and it's becoming so, wherever you go, you can, I'm not just talking about a Alexa or a Google Home, but in your cars, on your phones, everywhere you have this assistant voice search is becoming much more prevalent. Translate is becoming much more prevalent. It's such an amazing product. We just are testing a deal right now with American Airlines. Right now it's in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, where we're putting the home devices on the desks of the customer service agents so that they can utilize that to speak any language there is. So you come up and speak your language in, and then it answers back for you right there. It's been a huge success so far.
Have you heard of any hotels going down that path yet?
I haven't yet, but I think, we haven't worked with any, but we certainly would be open to talking to some hoteliers about this, because I think it's very cool in that technology and where it's going. Unfortunately, Zagat, you talk about Zagat, that was a great acquisition. We recently let them go on their own, and we've incorporated a lot of that content back then. But the problem was Google just didn't know what to do with a traditional content player like that, where you had editors on staff, and people asked, where is that content player? I said, there's still a lot of editors that are sitting in a room over in New York gathering in, and that's just, it's the Google way of doing so. But we're continuing to utilize that content in a lot of our products.
Okay, great. So, as we know, not everything Google does is successful. I think when you were here last, a few years back, you were up here explaining to us the glory of Google Glass.
Was I wearing them? I don't know.
I think you were.
I used to wear them to all these.
So when you look at what's going on today at Google, are there any products that you think might become the next Google Glass?
Well, a couple of things here. Remember Google Plus, anyone? That was one of those. Google Glass, I think it was definitely a product well before its time, unfortunately. But it was one that actually is, as a B2C play, but as a B2B play, it's worked out quite well, certainly in the medical community. It's really been kind of embraced in that thing. I think the overall consensus was we probably should have waited till there was a smaller format for B2C. I think I just read recently that there's a contact out now that actually does perform a lot of the similarities of Google Glass. of course, there you wouldn't be able to tell necessarily that
So you wouldn't
the
be
dorkiness
boxed
of the
walking down
glass.
street.
Exactly. So we'll see where that goes. So we still have a team on Google Glass, but again, you don't hear about it because it's really B2B only right now. But it's hard to think about, I hate to think about, okay, what do we have going right now that's probably going to go bust or not be the next billion-dollar business or billion user business. But so more importantly, I think it's something that we can all learn from Google that I think Google does do well and has done better as of late is testing and learning and failing fast and moving on. And I think that's where, again, I encourage all of you in your companies to make sure that you're testing a lot and you're learning, but you're moving on quickly. And I think that's where and when I talk to a lot of partners, they'll say, oh, no, we're a test and learn, community, and we're constantly doing this. But then it's like, well, how quickly do you move on that? Oh, well, sometimes it takes a little longer than we'd like. That's what Google does well, and that's, move on and take the learnings and apply it to something differently. And I think that's why I enjoy being at the company for as long as I have, is because somebody's always coming up with something. I can tell you right now, they all don't work. And I know there's plenty out there that, like you said, that probably will go bust at some point in time, but it's not for a lack of trying and somebody having a really interesting idea that they want to see and see if it works.
Well, it's nice to know that the glass is being repurposed for
glass
safe
is being
lives
repurposed.
purposes. So a couple of very popular questions from the audience on the app. So Google, Sabre, discuss.
Google Sabre, discuss. I knew this one would have to come. So there isn't a lot I can say because there isn't a lot happening on the travel side right now. Obviously, you heard about the big deal, and it is a great big deal for our cloud team. That is not my team. Separate team completely under Thomas Kurian, Google Cloud, and you read Sabre has chosen Google Cloud as their infrastructure cloud provider, which is a big deal for us. And why is it a big deal in travel? Is I hope it will help spur the conversation with many of our partners out there to really consider Google Cloud as their provider when it comes down to choosing. I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to explore, but this was not part of the decision Sabre made that we were going to, I read one article, GeekWire, somebody said, they're going to change the future of travel together. I mean, none of that was even in discussion in the deal. And so there's not much to say now from the travel perspective side of it, of like what we do. We'll have to see where that relationship goes, but like I said, we're excited for them to embrace our cloud technology for their infrastructure and information, and we'll see where it goes.
I hear South Lake is lovely this time of year.
Oh, I bet. Well, this time of year, it'd probably be very nice.
So there's a question that I'm not going to ask as a question. It's you need to become a member of HEDNA.
Certainly.
We'll talk about that
Google
later.
consider becoming a HEDNA member. We can talk about that.
So Google partners with so many travel technology companies. Yeah. Are you comfortable sharing some of the more innovative ones that come to mind that you work with?
Innovative hospitality tech companies. Yeah, I mean, we do partner with a lot of tech companies, and one of them was Derbysoft is a big partner of ours in terms of with a lot of you, because that's really how a lot of individual properties engage with our hotel ads product. It's through an integration partner that we work with, and they do a great job of helping onboarding individual properties that want to work with us in the hotel ads product. We work with a lot of different. On the advertising side, a lot of media and agency partners that do some great things in helping build, help partners with their programmatic advertising. I'm trying to think offhand. I mean, we on the, I guess, mainly it's on the integrated partner side, but then, as we move down the road of really looking for more technology and providing more for literally smaller, medium-sized businesses, there's a lot of different smaller partners that will really help guide those companies, properties, websites to really help work with our platform, because it's not sometimes as easy. We think it is, and a lot of it could be self-service, but really you can easily get on the platform by going online and doing some searches, but actually maximizing it and becoming efficient at it, I think, takes a little guidance. And so there's a lot of companies out there that really help with that as well.
So when you go back, let's go back to the travel, Google's travel initiative a little bit. And you do a lot with air, a couple of acquisitions in the airspace over the years. When you compare air and hotel, which do you find more challenging?
Well, I think they both come with their own unique challenges. I think, like a lot of other companies out there, we started in air almost 10 years ago now, really through an acquisition on the product side, obviously not on the ads side, on the product side, through an acquisition of ITA software, and that really led to where Google Flight Search is today. And it's become an overnight success. It's one of the most utilized flight search products out there globally now. And I think the team has done a really good job of building that product. That said, it's really like the milk in the back of the store. You have to have kind of air to actually get to some of the other good stuff. And so we're really focused on the hotel product now and really making that as robust as the air product. I think it's, there's different nuances there, certainly because, again, I said earlier, it's more fragmented. And so we deal a little bit more on those, with those issues. But I don't know if one is more important than the other, or more difficult than the other. I just think that you need them both, and we will continue to drive and innovate in those areas. But I think at the same time, the destination services and tours and attraction space fits into that as well. Where we're going to spend a lot more time in 2020, as you'll see, is on the hotel side of the business and making sure that we continue to get the features that a lot of properties want, the ability to differentiate themselves on the platform and be able to highlight different features that you have. Because I do think that's going to make a difference. I know earlier Jan was sharing, I think it was comparing that we're going to pay for cleaning at some point in time at the hotel or whatever he was saying. But I think on the loyalty side and that, I think being able to differentiate it and letting customers know what they're getting, I think is important. And being able to feature the nuances and differences is important. And we want to make sure we can do that. Because I really think it comes down to, like I said, for us, making it easier and simpler for users to find the information they want, comes down to making sure they're making the right choices. And we can only help them make the right choices if our product actually will allow us to highlight some of that stuff.
So what keeps you up at night, and should we be scared?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough. Obviously the economy, it sounds like we're going to be fine this year, so that's good, if we believe everything we're hearing. We have big partners, I think, that we're not up worrying about it, but I do think that Amazon could do something in travel that would really force us to make sure we stay on top of things and continue to innovate. They certainly, with the Prime membership alone, they've got a lot of information about individuals and what they're doing. I think they could certainly and will do something there at some point. Are we moving quick enough? I mean, staying relevant is really something that we stay in top of. Are we increasingly improving the user's experience? And for me, it's travel specifically, but Google, the big G is thinking that overall, how do we continue to get people to want to come to Google to do searches because they're finding the information, they're finding it useful. And in travel, I still think we have a ton of opportunity there. I mean, the travel process is still so difficult, and the journey is still so difficult to really decide. And people still spend hours trying to decide where and when they're going to go and what they're going to do. Some people enjoy that. Some people, that's part of the process, is spending time researching, which is fine as well. But we want to make sure that we're making it easier for them to access that information that they need to make the right decision.
So how do you react to the domestic political environment? You're a global company providing these solutions throughout the world, providing strategic advantages for companies, and yet, in the news or in politics, you'll hear people talking about breaking up Google.
We don't worry about it. I mean, we can't worry about it. At the end of the day, we just got to keep doing what we do and build great products. I think, we're a much bigger company now than we were when I started 14 years ago, and certainly than we were 20 years ago when the company started. And I think with that comes sometimes some scrutiny around what you do. And so, we let the policy people on the team and everyone worry about that. And we focus on trying to improve the product and making sure that it's great, so that at the end of the day, if the user experience and users want it and find it useful, hopefully that will be enough. But I don't know what to say. There's not much more I can say. We'll continue to be there and try to, like I said, provide great, unique experiences.
What was your most memorable travel experience in the past year?
I said earlier, I kind of alluded to, of the currency in Ecuador. They use the dollars because I went on a trip of a lifetime to the Galapagos in August with my family, and I encourage anytime anybody has a chance, they should do it. It was absolutely phenomenal. We were on a National Geographic trip, and it was pretty special. It was something I'd wanted to do for years, and finally did it. So it was a very interesting trip.
Any other trips left on the bucket list?
Oh, there's a lot of bucket list. People that know me know I love to travel, and South Africa is definitely on the list. I have not been to South Africa, so we'll see. Hopefully that'll happen at some time soon.
Sounds like a great empty nester trip.
Yes, I think that would be it.
With that, I want to thank you, Rob, for taking the time to be with us today. We look forward to your new membership.
Check is in the mail. Let's make it happen.
And thank you.
Hey, thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.